Good morning, what's up? Hello, how are you? My name is Jackson Thomas, or at Jackson K. Thomas on Instagram, and today is episode 6 of Creative Legends. I interviewed Mitchell Mullins, who I will actually be in California pretty soon with, and we talk about networking. We just picked a conversation, a topic that photographers and filmmakers really should buckle down on, and that is networking, or what we believe to be networking. So we go over a lot of the details actually of how to network with different companies, different photographers. It is a fantastic interview. I thoroughly enjoyed it. The audio is fantastic. We did this over Skype, so it sounds a lot better, and I hope you guys enjoy it. So here it is. All right, everybody, this is a good friend of mine from Nashville, Mitchell Mullins. He's a fantastic filmmaker, photographer, all-around good guy. So Mitchell, welcome to the show. Thanks for taking the time.
No, thanks for having me on. I'm excited to talk with you.
Yeah, it's gonna be awesome. Yeah, so just like everybody else, we're just gonna give the audience your story, what got you into photography, who influences you, that sort of thing.
Yeah, so I mean, basically, I've just been shooting probably since 7th grade, just taking photos. I do a lot of video stuff as well. But currently I'm going to college for film, and I do a lot of photography stuff on the side. And basically that's my story. I mean, I've literally just picked up a camera and started shooting since I was young and just continued it every single day. So nothing too crazy there.
Who influences you? Who kind of sparked some different creative ideas as you grew in it?
One of the big guys, Mr. Ben Brown.
Yes.
I remember watching his vlogs a lot on YouTube. And like the photography stuff that he did, and I was just so inspired. It just made me want to pick up a camera and just get outside and like start doing like landscape stuff. And like I think I started out doing a lot of astrophotography, and I would like look up YouTube videos and be like, oh, how do I set up my camera to do the long exposure? And like the first time I saw the stars in the camera, I like freaked out. Like I ran around the house. And I was like, oh my gosh, I can see them. And like, and then just things like that, and like just having those moments all the time just really keeps you inspired and keeps you going.
Definitely, influence is huge. Okay, so this is going back to the audience. Everybody, Mitchell and I talked previously about kind of what we're going to go over, and we decided we're literally just going to pick like one topic, dig into it, and kind of get a conversation going. And hopefully, get some people out there to start trying this out in their photography and seeing if it works for them. And that's basically just networking and trying to balance the art that is photography and filmmaking and just all around creativity with networking. So Mitchell and I have talked about this and gone back and forth about this a lot, but we wanted to kind of bring this conversation up for everybody else, and yeah, so I think it'll be fun. Where do you, first of all, Mitchell, where do you see networking play into specifically your photography and your kind of career?
All right. Well, you kind of got two sides of it. You have the whole networking with other photographers and the whole creative side of it, and then you also have the whole networking through like brands and stuff, getting work and like supporting yourself. So which kind of way did you want to go first with that?
Let's go with just the creatives, the people who you can surround yourself with and push yourself with. How do you work that out in your life?
Yeah, I mean, well, you and I know this firsthand really well. It was actually Jackson, you reached out to me probably about a year ago.
I think so.
A little under a year ago or something like that. And you're like, hey man, you want to help me out in this project? And I was like, yeah, sure, I'd love to. And I think that's so important, just like the whole reaching out to people. And that's something that not everyone does. They never just like send them a DM on Instagram and just be like, hey man, like I'd love to shoot, I'd love to do this. Because then everywhere you go, you can always connect with someone, and just meeting new people and seeing their different perspectives, like that's so important, you know?
Yep.
Like
Corey and I were actually talking about this the other week when we were on the podcast, and he was saying it's nobody over 30 or anybody who doesn't understand Instagram has no idea how we're connecting right now.
Right.
And you're right. Like when I reached out to you, it was for the 54-hour film festival. I was just like, hey man, like I need a filmmaker. You're a great, you're great. Look at the camera, and there it was. Like, and now we've got a huge friendship, and we're going to be doing some traveling, and that's where it came from. So asking and reaching out is just, I think it's
Yeah,
huge.
and I think it's like it's so weird to say it, but a majority of my friends are from Instagram or the
Yes.
internet if you want to say that. And it's weird to say that, but it's so true
Yeah.
because like it's just like everyone that like shares your like not your style but like what you love to do like obviously with us it's photography and filmmaking and they're all there. And so
Right.
anywhere you can go, you can instantly find these people that love what you do and love what they do. And then you just meet up with them. And then it's just like creative,
You
just like
can,
abundance of creativity.
yeah, you can almost pick your circle. You can literally just kind of look on Instagram and say, look, this guy kind of is the same style as I am. And you can pick, who your circle of influence is in your own town and like physically have those relationships and, bouncing off ideas with each
Yeah.
other.
And I mean, people talk about like, how like just surrounding yourself with good people. Sorry if you hear the sirens in the background.
Are you
Got
good?
some Savannah crime going on. But but I mean basically people talk about just surrounding yourselves with good people, and I think there's no excuse now that like this technology is available that you can't reach out and that you can't make friends with really anyone that you want.
I
I mean
really
like
like that. Yeah, I
I
agree.
mean like people underestimate it so much, like anywhere I go, and I think a lot of people are intimidated
Yeah.
by that number at the top of your account, aka known as your following. People see that and they almost kind of like judge you off of it, and they're
Yeah.
like, oh, like I wouldn't want to reach out to this guy because he doesn't think I'm good enough, or it's weird to say that, but it's true.
Even though they don't really have a say in it. I mean,
Right.
the first interviewee I had on this show was Andrew Kearns, and he's got upwards of 500,000 followers on Instagram, and I literally just sent him an email. I said, hey, I don't know if you'll ever see this, but I'd love to have you on my show. I'm starting this up. I want to inspire young photographers, and he responded. I think
Yeah.
reaching out is invaluable.
And it's
No,
weird
it is
because
valuable. Yeah.
and it gets to the point where it's like you almost put those people up on a pedestal, and but then once you like make contact with them and you're talking to them, like they're just as human as you are.
Yes. They're
Like
not anything different.
I'm sure like all the people you've talked to and I've talked to, like you all just share this one passion, and I think that's where a lot of like the inspiration comes from, is just having the whole community. And like
Yes.
when the whole community's together, like it's just so it just gets me so hyped up like every day.
Most definitely,
meeting
and
people.
it's cool too because it doesn't have to be like you're saying when you get a whole community together. Like I remember we had a photo shoot and there was just a bunch of photographers and we had like all these creative ideas and we were at this cool location and literally I have not had that amount of just kind of inspiration, quote unquote, since then. And I think it's really because of who I was with and where I was shooting and just the creativity that was bouncing off of everybody. And I didn't even know half those people. I didn't know
Yeah.
until I met them that day. You
But
know?
it's like something that just like brings you together. And one thing, I just thought of this, but this happened to me probably a few months ago, and I really highly suggest it. But if you can find a group of people, just kind of like you were talking about, but find a group that takes totally different photography from what you take, and go out and shoot with them, because it is such a different perspective. Like a few months ago, I got put in this group, and they're all like, I mean, the stuff we shoot, it's very like adventure, landscape, portrait kind
Lifestyle.
of stuff. Yeah, lifestyle. And basically the whole group of guys that I was hanging out with, they were all really urban street photographers. And so the whole night when we walked around, we were in Nashville that night, and the whole night we were walking around, it was so interesting to see their different takes and their different things on what they were doing. And it kind of influenced what I was doing to a certain degree, because I was so inspired by this whole group of people having their own like kind of things that they were talking about. And like, I mean, we talk about having our inspirations, like some of the big YouTube stars or like big people on Instagram, but they kind of had their own little like set of them for their style, and it was so interesting seeing that. So I highly suggest that. Like,
Well,
that's
and
so neat.
I remember seeing a couple of those photos and afterwards, and they were very, very street. Like they were urban street photos, and I'd never seen that from you. It was interesting because going into that, you were very much a lifestyle photographer, and you still are predominantly. But all of a sudden, because of your influence and because you were who you were shooting with that night, it literally changed your style and changed kind of like your identity, quote unquote, as a photographer.
Yes. So I mean, that makes me think like, so what if I go to a bunch of different cities or locations and I get groups together and they all kind of have their different style,
Right.
and then basically, I mean, whether or not I want it to influence me, it will. Just seeing their ideas and like building off of what I have, and I think all of those different things coming together kind of make your style.
Yes. Yeah, I heard one time if you steal from one artist, it's plagiarism. If you steal from many, then it's your own. It's kind of an interesting, and I think that's exactly what it is. I mean, we're all just kind of feeding off of these. We're a river, and we're getting all these tributaries into it from different creatives. But yeah, let's talk about the business side of that, where okay, reaching out to companies now, it's more, it's less creativity and more of, okay, I'm doing what you want and you have, money or whatever so that I can go do, what I want to do. How
Mm-hmm.
do you kind of approach that? This is something I'm still trying to figure out and get companies to say, yeah, you know what, let's give you a chance. Let's send you some clothes or let's send you to this place or whatever. How do you do that?
Mm-hmm. All right, so basically, whenever I started doing this, I would basically just send out tons and tons and tons of emails to companies. Sorry for that noise in the background.
Are you good?
There's a giant boat.
Where do you go to college? Just for the listeners.
I go to Savannah College of Art and Design.
So he's
Unfortunately, it is right on the river, and we have these giant freight ships that come through. They carry like 500 of those like giant cargo containers.
That's
So
awesome.
those are always kind of cool to watch. But
Cool
going
atmosphere.
back to your question, talking about companies and stuff, like at first I was just sending out all these emails, and one of the things I first recognized was how like few percentage of them actually get back to you, and you can't let that like get you down. So like say you sent out like 200 emails and you get 2 back, well that's better than 0. Like 2 is better than 0, and like you just have to accept it and be like, yes, this is great, these are good leads, and not be disappointed by all the ones that didn't get back to you, because
Right.
eventually if you're creating good content and like other brands see that you're working with other brands, then they're going to want you to work with you. They're like, so I mean, part of it is just like repetition of reaching out to brands, and then another part of it is like once you, because at first you kind of have to take, well, you don't always have to, but it does help sometimes just to take things, just like any opportunity, just to like almost get your foot in the door, But after a while, you can almost start to pick and choose and kind of like pick companies that you really want to represent you and that you want to represent them, and that like your styles kind
Right.
of merge. So like you don't want to be like this outdoor lifestyle photographer and then be taking pictures of flowers. Well, I guess that kind of goes into to landscape, but like doing like more of like the flat lay kind of stuff,
Right.
and like
Yep.
for like women feminine product company or something, when you're like your demographic is outdoor males, you want to like shoot for your demographic and not
Right.
like just do anything, because then that just leaves your audience like completely scattered and they're like, who is this guy?
Yeah, and then you get into the whole like, oh, is he a sellout? That sort of thing. Especially once you have a bigger fan base, and usually like the better, the more companies contacting you, that means you're getting better. So you are building a fan base, you are building a reputation in this community, and I think
That's true.
I think it really what you're shooting, and eventually you can be more selective, and I think that really plays into, your identity as a creator.
And I think that's so important to protect that, like your identity as a creator, because like one of the first few times I reached out to some companies and they got back to me, basically part of the deal was they wanted me to post 3 to 5 times on my Instagram, tagging, like only showing their product and tagging it. And I see this all the time on some big accounts, and it makes me really cringe, but I'll see that they literally just put up a straight ad. And I'm
Right.
like, ooh, like that, like whether you like it or not, that damages your brand. Like,
Right.
regardless. So, I mean, that's just so important.
Yeah, it's interesting to find the balance for that, because you see somebody who posted, I don't know, like a coffee mug photo, and it's literally just for that brand, and you're like, well, that's obviously an ad, and I feel like I'm being sold to, and you lose a little bit of trust. You lose a little bit of trust with that specific creator that you're working with. So I think also kind of that maybe plays into the whole, and I guess this is getting a little bit more detailed, but when you email and when you contact people, being very specific about how you want to approach it. You know, you're only bringing them content for them to use, maybe,
Mm-hmm.
versus you bringing the content, also posting the content, and also promoting them. Because
Mm-hmm.
that's not being a content creator. That's being a social marketer for
Mm-hmm.
that company.
And I think like what you're talking about, like being clear on what you want, I'd say like don't be afraid. A lot of people are afraid that like when they reach out to a company or an organization and they say, "Hey, I want to do photography or this kind of stuff for you, or whatever," then that leaves, and this isn't always a bad thing, but sometimes that leaves the company open to whatever, and they
Right.
have no clear path, and like sometimes they don't even want to hire you because of that, because you're not clear. But sometimes it's just open. They're like, "Oh, well, we'll do this," and then you take that in, and that may not be what you want to do. So if you like write to them and you're very clear, you're like, "Hey, I'd like to do this and this at this time here."
Yep.
Then they see, "Oh wow, he wants to do this, and this. Can that fit into our marketing like strategy or not?"
It makes the
Because like
decision easier for them. It really
right,
does.
and like then at the end, like then they're happier, and more likely you're more likely to get hired for them, and if not future jobs, and then you're more fulfilled and more likely content that you like. So
So
it's a win-win-win.
being specific as well as the consistency of reaching out to companies and
Mm-hmm.
having kind of a layout of what you want. So I mean, let's kind of even dig into that. Just literally for the practical purpose of people who are listening to this can reach out to companies if they don't know what they're doing. And I'll kind of head this off and start this, but the way I usually do it is when I email a company, I say, "Look, I really appreciate your brand," because I don't just email companies I don't already follow. Well, I don't email companies I don't follow that part of like my lifestyle. It's something I'm drawn
Right.
to, that I could do, that I appreciate. You know, an outdoor company, a backpacking company, a coffee company. That's because that's what I like.
Mm-hmm.
But maybe if you're into, you know, specifically coffee shops, then you email coffee shop companies, that sort of thing.
Right.
So when I do email them, it's very specific, like you're talking about. Hey, this is what I'm thinking about doing. This is maybe even this is where I'm going to be. If you send me this product that you have on your website, I'd love to take this kind of photo.
Mm-hmm.
And here's the budget I'm thinking about, that I think it would cost, and here's why. I
Mm-hmm.
think the here's why of the budget is very important, so that they can see like, okay, this isn't just like us sending him money and a product. It's the
This is
getting
like
of
kind
the
of how
shot.
does this like affect our like marketing and like.
Right, right. And this is,
Hmm.
and then also beyond that, like, this is only going for you. Like, I'm not going to be posting it on my social media. If I do, it's kind of an added bonus.
Mm-hmm.
That's kind of how I approach it, and I'm curious to see. You know, I'd love to see a little bit how you approach that.
Yeah, I mean, basically, whenever I write to them, I mean, it's pretty much the same as you, just saying like, "Hey, this is what I want to do," and it does always help to have like, if you're traveling or a location bonus, be
Mm-hmm.
like, "Hey, I'm gonna be here at this time, and like we could work together." And I feel like sometimes they are more likely to say yes to things,
Yes.
like that. But and I think like what you said about covers a lot of that. But I think there's another part to it also, which is kind of like being prepared to actually send that email, because what you say in it is important, but if you don't have the qualifications to back it up, then they're
Mm-hmm.
not going to give you a second look. So I mean
Right.
just talking about like first off like your Instagram, like you know a lot of people, it sounds weird to like take Instagram so literally,
It's
like
a
and like
resume. Like, I think
seriously.
okay,
Yeah.
but hold on. Let's pause real quick. I really think we do need to be taking Instagram seriously. Like, that is your
Oh yeah.
resume. That is who you are. That is the content you produce. That's how hard you work, how often you post. So I don't think we should kind of, in any situation, and I don't think you do this at all, like, but like, say Instagram's still just a social media platform. Like, no, it's part of you. That's part of your identity.
A
Anyways,
hundred percent. And
sorry.
I mean, like, adding on to what you're talking about, basically, whenever you tag your Instagram in the bottom of an email or, sending it anywhere or DM, they
Right.
basically can look at you. They can tell what your work's like, how consistent you are, how engaged you are,
Yep.
and how much value you add to your audience.
And
Period.
if it's not something they like, that literally that could be the reason they don't respond to you.
Right.
Or
Like if you're not posting like once a month, even if your content's good, then it's kind of shaky.
yeah.
It's like he's not that engaged with whatever. And I mean we could go, or we could talk about this later, like adding value to your audience, but kind of
Mm-hmm.
keeping it back on track of the whole like sending things to companies and stuff. Just to add this on, you have your Instagram needs to be in line. You need to have
Yep.
your website in line. If possible, have a LinkedIn page that's fully updated. include your cell phone, or just have like a nice little ending to it, or like the what is that called? Your signature.
Yeah, signature. Mm-hmm. Instead of the sent
like,
from my iPhone or whatever.
oh man, unprofessional. But I mean, yeah, just be professional about it, and they'll take you professionally if you take them professionally. So,
I mean, the way I always look at it is you are literally going to a company and applying for a job. Like, that's it.
yeah,
You're going to a
that's
company and
it.
applying for a job. You would not be vague and say to a boss, if you were sitting down with a boss and looking at him face to face, you would not say, I just need a job. That's it. I can I take photos. No, you'd be very
Yeah.
specific about what you can do, how you can do it, how often you can do it, what you're gonna bring to the table for that company. So that's how I look at it, and that's how I treat it in my emails.
And adding this onto that, I think that for a lot of people, just saying this, I think they need to man up and literally just send out stuff, because a lot of people are afraid to reach out to people, or even alone. Sometimes I've started doing this. I've just started calling companies and just like calling the head person or trying to get in contact with them and just talking to them directly.
Yep.
Because like nobody does that. And if you're doing that, then they answer this phone call or whoever, like if you get in contact with someone important, they go, wow, this person really cares, because they're literally contacting me when no one else will. So,
or as persistent as no one else will.
Right.
Just if the first time they didn't see it, maybe they just didn't see it. Like maybe they didn't even open up your email, so send another one.
I mean, yeah, sometimes I've send like 6, 7, 8, 9 times, and sometimes they'll get back with me, and they're like, thanks for your persistence. I'm like, yes, it paid off. And sometimes you get no response, and that's just part of it, and you gotta just move on.
Yep.
But
And this does also go back to the value of what you're bringing to the table, because 4 years ago, let's use me as an example. If I tried to contact some of the companies I'm contacting right now and said, hey, like, I'm a aspiring photographer and I'm going to shoot photos for you. And they, I'm just kind of just now starting. I don't think that they would have done that. So a lot of this is, you got to look at yourself in the mirror and say, how much value am I adding to people? Am I doing enough? Do I have to grind harder to get better before I can even start this?
Well, let's talk about on the key of adding value. Let's talk about adding value to your audience.
Yeah.
I mean, where do you kind of want to go with this conversation?
That's something I really, really think needs to be more prevalent in the photography community. I saw something the other day that really made me sad on Twitter. Some big company had posted some photos of this from this one photographer, and the photographer who took the photos responded, and rightfully so, and said, "Hey, like, I'd really, you need to tag me, and you need to like recognize me as the photographer of these photos." And part of me was like, okay, I totally understand. As an artist, I would want recognition, but at the same time, I recognized as well, this could have been a huge opportunity for this guy. He could have said, "Oh my gosh, guys," to his audience, this company just posted my photos all over their site. I cannot believe this. I'm so thankful. I love this company. You guys should go check them out. If you don't love a company, don't actually say that. But, I think it was a company he or she could have definitely gotten behind. And I think that's like a missed opportunity for his audience, because they would have loved that. I think they would have loved that company, that they're following somebody who does that sort of thing. And I think that was a huge missed opportunity, and a huge missed opportunity of value for that company and his audience. Because the company would have been like, "Oh my gosh, that photographer, we really appreciate that. Now we're going to tag you. Now we're going to, put you up on here."
And I mean, on both sides, like it is important for, the big companies or whatever to tag you.
Of course.
But in that situation, like taking it in that positive light.
Yeah.
And it's almost like an optimistic way of looking at things, but like being like, oh, hey, like they didn't do this. Like, okay, I'll work on that, and I'll send them a message, be like, hey, could you tag me in my photo or whatever? And instead of getting upset about it, and then going to your side, like what you're talking about, and going on your audience, being like, hey, this is great. They're promoting me here. I want to add value to my audience by being like, hey, this is a great product. Go check it out.
I agree. So I think I think that could be a huge, opportunity for a lot of just creatives in general, because I think we are intuitively, and I know this is, I myself am like this. We're selfish of our art,
Mm-hmm.
because it's our art. Like we created it, we put it out there, so we
Mm-hmm.
like to kind of protect it and like hold it back. When really we created that art for it to be seen. So like, just get it out there. Like give it to people. Let them have it. Like don't be
Just throw it,
bothered.
give everything for free.
Give everything for
uh,
free, and then maybe have Skype calls that's what you charge for, something like that. I don't know the
yeah.
full economics behind that. That's a whole different conversation. But I seriously think if somebody took the time to say, hey, like these photos are fantastic, we're gonna repost them. Yes, they
Mm-hmm.
should have also taken the time to recognize you, but at the same time, I mean, come on, that's pretty epic. Share that with your
Right,
audience,
right. And then this just kind of goes off of that, but like with your audience, I get a lot of questions about like how do you grow your audience,
Mm-hmm.
and a lot of it is just engaging. Like if
Yes.
someone comments, I try my best. I'm not always the best at it, but I try to just respond. Or if someone sends me a DM, sometimes you get the weird DMs and you're just like, okay, decline. That's
Yeah,
weird.
exactly.
But for the majority of the time, it's like people who are generally interested in
Yeah.
your work, and you're just like, and it's always best if they're like, hey, what camera do you use? That is the number one question you will ever get as a photographer, is what camera do you use? But I try to just be as kind as possible and be like, hey, this is the camera I use. This is the lens I use. Is there anything else you want to know? Thanks for checking out my work. I really appreciate that. Like, thanks for the
Right.
support. And then because, like, and maybe we'll even start a small conversation off that. And with that small conversation, like, that's one person who's not going to, like, leave or unfollow you. Like, you just added one extra person
Yep.
behind you that's going to support you and say, hey, I really like what you're doing. And when you do this over and over and over and over every
Yeah.
single day and don't undervalue that one person, then your following is just going to start to grow and grow and grow and grow. And then you have this huge audience behind you, and it's like, wow,
And it's
I have
not
all these
just
people that care because you care.
and it's not even just like a huge audience in the sense that there's the numbers. It is actually people who are excited for you because
Yeah.
they had an interaction with you. They had a moment with you. They were on the phone, or they you responded to their DMs and they're like, oh my gosh, like he took the time to do that for me. Like I love this guy. Even if they were kind of on the, maybe they were on the fence with you. Maybe they were like, I don't really like this guy, but I'm going to ask him because his photos are kind of cool. Or
And
gal,
then when you go out of your way to have a conversation and get to know them,
Yep.
that's so important. Like
It turns their heads. Yeah. I think that's
it's
huge. I think
it's just crazy.
a lot of photographers are really, really good about that. Just kind of appreciating people who appreciate them. But
Mm-hmm.
even taking it to the next level of like just trying to respond to everybody. And I've even decided once I start releasing presets, this will be a little secret that if people actually listen to this, they'll know. If somebody literally just straight up asks me for my presets, until too many people are asking, I'm just going to give them away for free. Like there'll be however much money, like $20 for 20 presets or whatever. But if
Mm-hmm.
you email me at here, I'll just put it down in the links below. Like email me at info@jacksonkThomas.com and ask me for my presets, and I will give them away for free. And tell them that you came from this podcast, and I'll give them
I
away for
love
free.
that.
Like
I love that.
I mean, just ask for it. I want people to know. Like you can ask for it.
Yeah.
So
I mean, that's kind of like, we all kind of have our own strategies. Like, one thing that I was thinking about that I want to implement in the future is, I'm actually working on them right now, but I'm developing, like, some of my presets that I really like, and what I'm going to do is I want to do more Instagram Live content, so I'm just going to do some Instagram Live editing, and then while I have those people on there, because usually it's the people that, like, really care, and, like, we talked about the
yes,
people that, like, I engage with, who are the ones that, like, I will always have, like, an 18-person on my base on my Instagram Live, because those people actually care about watching and they're engaged. So for those people, I'm gonna be like, hey guys, like, you guys really mean a lot. I have free presets on my website. Go get them. They're
Or
just for
here's
you
the code
guys.
or whatever. That's awesome.
Yeah, like, just showing
Exactly.
them, like, you guys, like, really mean a lot, and you care a lot. Like, I care about you for what I do. So it's
We see you, basically. It's kind of like one of those like, I see you, taking the time for mine. Okay, well, Mitchell, this was a great conversation, but we gotta let people go and get back to their daily lives or do whatever they're doing.
for sure.
Thanks so much for talking, man. I really appreciate it, and I can't wait for the little bit of traveling we got going on this year.
Yeah, man, I'm stoked.
And then actually, I was gonna really quickly. So what I'm gonna start doing on these podcasts is I'm gonna ask the photographer / filmmaker, whatever it is, to give me one of their photos, and I'm gonna create a wallpaper using a quote from this podcast, and then I'm gonna
Okay.
give that away for free on my website. So if you're willing to do that, I'd love to get a photo from you and create that. And then if anybody's listening, there's some links below so you can go download that photo and put it on your phone for a little bit if you want. So yeah, that's just kind of a little something I'm gonna start doing.
For sure.
But yeah, just want to let people know about that. Thanks for having you on.
Yeah,
This is
man.
awesome.
I'll talk to you soon, bro.
All right, cool. Sounds good. Thanks.